Hi guys. So today I want to talk to you a little bit more about self-love. I have been hesitating to do these talks because I have a friend that feels personally attacked by the things I say when I talk about these things in videos. And so I've been hesitating, but I realized that I'd rather talk about the things that people aren't talking about, and I am responsible for delivering a message, not how it's received. So let's start. In talking about self-love, the reason that I want to talk about certain things about self-love is because I want to talk to you about what it takes. Most people think that self-love has more to do with getting your nails done or getting your eyebrows pretty or putting on some makeup or something like that. And although self-care is a part of it, it's so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. So let's talk a little bit about the design, okay? So everyone talks about how everyone is one. By now, everyone knows everybody's you pushed out, and everybody has some version or some concept of understanding of what that is. So in essence, what's happening is all of your living memories are on display, and they're turned into bodies of experience. And what that means is there are certain memories that will be turned into patterns, which will then play out and become the people, places, and things that you think you are viewing. Okay, so what would be one of the first things that I would recommend in this case? Like, what would make things a lot easier when it comes to self-love? And so what is that? And the number one recipe thing that is needed is self-acceptance. Okay, self-acceptance is a huge part of it. It's not the only thing. It's not the only thing that will ever be, but it is a huge part and aspect of making sure that you are not triggered as easily. Okay, so what happens in relationships, and the reasons that we get into arguments, fusses, and fights with people is because our living memories are going to be on display. The truth is that our wounds and the things that happen to us in childhood actually animate the things that we are witnessing. We're going to see the things we're afraid of, and we're going to see the things we haven't accepted. And these things are going to turn into arguments in our relationships if we are not aware and accepting of our experiences. So I guess I don't want to make this long. I don't want to get on here and talk forever, but I do want to help you guys understand. So then what's happening is you are in a relationship with yourself, and your experiences are on display. And although it does look like there's another body, it's not exactly separate from you. It appears this way, and that's the best part about being alive. But what's happening is it's your stories that are on display and your acceptance. And so what happens is that when we are afraid of rejection, or when we've rejected ourselves, or when we've rejected experiences that we've had, we don't realize that in fact we've chosen our parents. For example, we've chosen our parents to match our wound because it feels better. It's exactly why we choose our partners as well. And so we do this dance, and that we hope that in this dance that we have the courage to support one another and to experience what it's like to be accepted. But see, this acceptance isn't coming from out there. It's coming from in here. It's coming from you and who you are, and developing a love for that. You see, that's the most important part. So self-acceptance is perhaps one of the most important aspects if you wish not to be triggered in relationships, because that's really what's happening, and it's always going to happen. We don't realize this, but our inner narratives are what's clouding our judgment and makes it so we think we're seeing what we're seeing. So if we've lacked acceptance for ourselves in certain experiences, what then must happen is the other person must play that role for you, and then you must navigate that. So self-acceptance has to be key, because Otherwise, you're not triggered. You can look back. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. I can only tell you from my own experience, it's not easy. I've been in a relationship, gotten in a fight, lost my mind, gotten upset, all of this, I get it in the moment, okay? But what saves my relationship, or what saves my ability to, is my ability to respond, to take a moment, to retreat inward, to fix it in myself, and then wait to see what's going on outside. See, I am a huge component, or proponent, or is that what I want to say, the word? I'm a huge cheerleader, that's a better way, of the fact that your world is made within, and then you enter the dream. And so this is something that you guys can only experience by practicing it. But self-acceptance has to be key. It's a huge component. A lot of times, in my mastermind class recently, one of my favorite students, I love her, by the way, and she really didn't need my class, but I love that she participated. She basically said some of the coolest things, and she said that when it came to self-love, one of the easiest things that she thought about is, like, she just started being kind to herself in her story, and like it was a novel idea, just started being kind, and like I said, it's self-acceptance that you are dealing with. That's always that, okay? And so when you're triggered, what's happening is a wound is being reflected so that you can see it, to correct it. And that's going to continue to happen, and it's going to get continually worse, the lessons, until we look at them, until we snapped awake. So self-acceptance is a huge part of that awakening, because that allows you to interact and be accepted and relate to people in a totally different manner than you would if you weren't accepting of yourself, because then you tend to feel rejected by the outside world, and you get angry with the people that appear to be rejecting you. But that's not really what's happening. What's happening is they are showing you what you're doing inside to yourself. It's always an inside journey. Everybody thinks that when they're looking for their specific person, that it's out there, and it's not. It's in your narrative. It's in figuring out what narrative is playing. That's what's animating. And people in an act of pure love and unconditional love show up exactly as your narrative dictates. And so we have to become aware of that. So self-acceptance, I guess, I'm not going to say it, I'm going to say it a billion times. It's a huge component of experiencing the same in return. It's a huge experience. A lot of people, they get frustrated because they say, well, my person is out there. Why are you telling me it's in here? I don't understand how I can get from in here to out there. How do I get my person out there? And see, that attraction factor, that makes them come to you, does not occur because you do something out there. There is absolutely nothing you can ever do. You can buy people the sun, the moon, and the stars. You can do whatever. You can bend over backwards. You can develop cancer because they have cancer. It doesn't matter, okay? There is nothing you can do to make someone out there love you if you are not aware that your story, and you have to be loving to yourself in your story, in your acceptance, in your mode of being. That is what causes the 3D confirmation to be as you are on the inside. But that's the most important part. If you're not aware of what you're being on the inside, then you get upset when it appears as if you're being rejected out there, or you go after a man out there, and the man comes to you, the woman comes to you. It occurs this way, but you have to first be accepting of yourself, so that you can learn from these experiences. That's probably one of the most important parts, I would say, that comes along. I want to tell you guys, 3D does conform to your inner state. It has to. But we are so trained to look outside of ourselves, to look at, everything that's occurring out there, that we forget that our story inside is what's animating, that it's one whole thing, and that in accepting ourselves, we experience the acceptance of others. It's the most crucial component, and a lot of times we're not good to ourselves. Maybe we've done things in the past that we are not proud of. Maybe we don't feel as if we succeeded to the degree that maybe we felt that we should have succeeded, or maybe we feel as if we should have been somewhere where we're not, or whatever the case may be. If we are rejecting ourselves on the inside, I promise you that you will experience rejection on the outside. So it begins in here. I'm going to begin a little series. I'm going to keep talking about self-love, and I hope that it helps others achieve what it is that they're looking at. But 3D it has no choice but to conform. Yes, Brian, exactly. It said, it doesn't comfort you, I'm not sure what will. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. You know, today my earlier talk was on defying the odds and how we defy the narratives, and it's so true. But it's only understood when applied. When you become aware of your narratives within, you absolutely become aware of how they're being animated outside. And when you realize this totally, completely, you experience a totally different world. So I want you guys to become aware of that. It's the best thing I can offer you in terms of tips. I'm going to keep on talking about other self-loving tips. I'm going to do this, I don't know for how long. It just feels like that's what I'm inspired to do right now. But this is my first in the series. So I hope that you guys are considering it, that you guys are thinking about how much it's an inside job and not an outside job. I will never change that narrative. I will always tell you it's in here. You know, this is going to sound kind of funny, and it's not meant to be bragging, okay? I just want people to understand what it's like for your experience to be the reason you know what you know, okay? I'm used to being spoiled, always. I don't know any other world. I don't know a world where I don't get treated really, really well by whoever I happen to be seeing. This is a normal thing. In fact, I almost tend to take it for granted. I forget that this is not what people experience as considered normal, but it's my normal. And it's my normal because I have a lot of self-acceptance. And so then as a result, I experience people that want to be around me, or that want to spoil me. In 3D is my confirmation. I don't know any other world, but it comes from a deep abiding sense of self-acceptance. That's why it's been that way. And I've been in situations where women look at me funny and they're like, how did you get him to open the door for you? Like, he didn't even think about it. He just opened the door. But he didn't open the door for me. Like, that's a normal thing for me. That's a normal occurrence. But it comes with a deep abiding sense of self-love, because then that is what's mirrored out. I can't speak from something that isn't my experience. It's the only world I've ever known. It's the only world I've ever known. And it doesn't matter whether this person's a player or not a player. Or makes no difference. When you know you're the one, when you have accepted that, okay, the world shows up to confirm it. It always will. It always will. It's important. And the only reason I'm sharing this with you now is because as we grow and we evolve as people, we might have to deal with varying levels of self-acceptance. But those varying levels of self-acceptance are important, because every time you cross a new barrier, you will discover a new aspect about yourself that you should be falling in love with. It's all the things that make you uniquely you that are the attracting factor when it comes to relationships. I don't know why we don't realize this, but it is. when we take off our masks, when we're not trying to be something we're not, when we're not trying to fit into their hoop, when we're not trying to not make waves, when we're not trying to close ourselves off into a boundary, when we're fully accepting of who we are and we're just not afraid to speak our mind and to be ourselves, uniquely that's what people fall in love with. It's always what people fall in love with. Looks fade. Looks fade. We get older. Okay. Cool. No problem. What you are on the inside never changes. And over time, people start to take note of that. And they appreciate that so much more. But your authenticity and your self-acceptance is 100% key to making sure that you're not rejected on the outside. And if you are, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay? It's not the end of the world. How many of us have, okay, rejected ourselves and then experienced that out there? All of us. All of us. To some varying degree, experience that. So if you can fix it, then let me be the first to say, start with these things. Start with these things. The world shows up to meet you. That's the best part about this. I hope that helps. Okay, I'm going to continue to do these self-talks, self-love talks in the evenings. Hope to catch you guys. You know, I want to answer the question. Most people were like, you know, how do I love myself? Well, that's a long answer. And I will answer it every day if I have to. Thank you guys. I love you. I really do. Bye.